Velma. We're also joined by Kathy Evans at Ridgeland High School, and we're recording this for our friends at Madison Central and at Germantown High
Okay.
School as well. So, all the seniors at Madison County Schools, and we thank you for joining us. And we've been talking about the few things about the Coast Guard. Obviously, you're the expert. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge on it, but I think and we got some great questions we're going to get to as well. But I think your branch has a lot of great things to offer, and we'd love to hear about what all you can offer our high school seniors.
Okay. Let me get my presentation up real quick. Do you mind enabling so I can
Let me
share?
do that real quick. I'm sorry about that. There you go. Should be good now.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see that?
Absolutely. Got it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to come speak to y'all today. I am a Petty Officer First Class Daniel Ellis. I'm a recruiter located here in Jackson, Mississippi. Before I go into, hang on, this is, okay. All right. Before I go into a little bit about the Coast Guard, let me give you a little bit about my background. I think it's awesome that I just want to thank your instructor for allowing me to come speak to y'all today. It's been 20 years since I was in y'all's shoes. 20 years ago, I was sitting in those seats. I was a senior in high school. So, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to go to college, but I also knew I wanted to serve in the military. And I'll go into a lot of those benefits that the Coast Guard has to offer. But yeah, a little bit about myself. I've been in the Coast Guard for a little over 14 years now. I grew up in a town called New Braunfels, Texas, right outside San Antonio, and I had the desire to travel. A little bit about my Coast Guard background. I joined the service in May of 2007, about 5 months after graduating college. I went to boot camp in Cape May, New Jersey, and after completing boot camp, I went straight to my my training school. I went to Machinery Technician A School, which was in Yorktown, Virginia. After completing my training, I got my first assignment in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and I had no idea where that was at. But that was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, right on the Canadian border. And I didn't even know the Coast Guard was on the Great Lakes until I learned about some of the more of the missions that the Coast Guard has. Any body of water that connects 2 or more states, that makes it federal, and Coast Guard is a federal entity. So that's where the Coast Guard is going to be. After completing my first tour up in Sault Ste. Marie, I decided to change jobs. I've always enjoyed cooking. I love being around food. So I decided to change jobs. I became a culinary specialist, so I had to go back to another training school for that, which was in Petaluma, California. They trained me to become a Coast Guard cook. And then I received orders to Coast Guard Station Sabine Pass, Texas, which is along the Louisiana border near Beaumont. I made E5. I made a Petty Officer Second Class leaving there. So I took an assignment back up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. I enjoyed it the first time up there. And I tell you what, it gets cold up there. Growing up in the South, you know, those hot summers, I wanted to go somewhere different, somewhere I've never been to. That's why I wanted to go the farthest place away. And whenever I had my choice of units, that was the one that was the farthest away. So, but my second tour up there was a little bit different. I was on one of the Coast Guard icebreakers up there, the Coast Guard cutter Katmai Bay, which is a 140 icebreaking tug. Our primary missions up there was icebreaking because all 5 of the Great Lakes, the majority of the Great Lakes, they freeze up about 85% during the wintertime between December and May. And the commercial mariners up there, they still have to be able to transport their goods to get to their destination. And that gets hard with the lakes freezing over. So there's there's 6 icebreakers up there scattered throughout the Great Lakes, and they keep the channels open. And if the freighters they do get stuck, we go out there, we help break them out and escort them into their port of entry.
Cool.
From there, I made E6, and I got transferred to the Coast Guard cutter William Tate, which was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A little bit different mission when I was on that cutter. We primarily did aids to navigation. What aids to navigation is one of the missions that we do. It's kind of like our highway system. We have our signs that tells us which directions to go, where not to go. Well, that's what aids to navigation is in the marine world. We have our buoy system. Buoys, they mark the channels for the waterways to let mariners know that, hey, we're in safe waterways. We can transit through there. And it was our job to make sure that those buoys are in the correct place. Because when hurricanes come through, when heavy winds come through, they get displaced. And if they're not in the spot that they need to be in, then those mariners, they have the potential to run aground. And so we try to prevent that. And just this past summer, I got assigned to Coast Guard Recruiting Office Jackson, and I'm happy to be here and to be able to share my knowledge to try to inform the public about what the mission that we do, because it has a very important role. So I just want to thank you again for allowing me to come speak to y'all today. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to be going over a little bit of the Coast Guard, a little bit of our history. I've covered some of the missions already, but I'm going to cover all the missions that the Coast Guard does, some of the benefits, all the enlisted opportunities, the locations that you could be stationed at, boot camp, and all the physical fitness requirements that goes with that. And I can show you some of the different platforms that the Coast Guard has. And if you have any questions, you can just let me know at the end, or if I don't know if
we got some really good questions prepared. These will be some tough ones.
Okay. All right, so a little bit of Coast Guard history. Coast Guard was established in 1790. Back then, we were known as the Revenue Cutter Service. And in 1915, that's when we became known as the U.S. Coast Guard. We merged with the U.S. Life Saving Service. And in 1939, that's when we picked up a lot of our aids to navigation missions, because we merged with or the U.S. Lighthouse Service merged with us, and they had an important role. The previous boat that I was on was named after William Tate, which was a lighthouse keeper. They had an important role, and we still maintain all the lighthouses, because when mariners are out at sea and if it's foggy, those lighthouses are important, because they're a beacon so that they can know where their port of entry is at. In 1967, we were transferred to Department of Transportation, and in the wake of 9/11 in 2002, when Department of Homeland Security was formed, Coast Guard was transferred to Department of Homeland Security in 2003. And that's actually my big reason for wanting to join the Coast Guard, because I was a senior in high school when that 9/11 took place. And the Coast Guard had a big role in helping with the evacuation. He was a lieutenant at the time. He was the commanding officer of one of our Coast Guard 110s, Michael Day. His boat was patrolling around New York Harbor when the towers were hit, and he orchestrated with all of the commercial vessels, the civilian vessels that were in the area. He orchestrated the evacuation with everybody that was stuck on Battery Park and outside Manhattan after the towers collapsed. Wow. And that was just one of the biggest evacuations that the Coast Guard orchestrated. And that was my big motivation for wanting to join. All right, so these are the missions that the Coast Guard does. I covered a little bit of aids to navigation and some of the ICE operations, but ports waterway security. So I got to do a little bit of that mission when I was stationed up in the Great Lakes. When I was at the small boat station, the first tour, What that is, because when I was at a small boat station up there, we had a locking system. What a locking system is, it's an area where vessels can pull into that closes, where boats can pull into, and it closes behind them and in front of them. And it raises them to the appropriate level of water that they need to be at. Because Lake Superior is 23 feet higher in level than Lake Huron. So vessels that are transiting from Lake Superior to get to Lake Huron, they have to go through this locking system to lower them down to that level. So that Ports Waterway security mission that we were doing, we were maintaining security. We would have to patrol it every day, make sure nobody was messing with it, because if somebody tried to take out that locking system, there's nothing stopping that water from exiting Lake Superior, and it would cause massive flooding. So that's just one of the, it's just an example of what that mission that we do. We do a lot of drug interdiction. Every day, we seize over 1,100 pounds approximately of drugs from entering this country. This past summer, back in August, we had one of the largest drug busts in U.S. history. We seized over 60,000 pounds of illegal drugs. Net worth was $1.4 billion. We stopped it from entering the country. Aids to navigation and search and rescue. We save about, on average, 12 lives a day from people that are in distress out on the water. We also protect the living marine resources, and that can goes in a couple ways. Whenever hurricanes come through, or during the BP oil spill, the marine environment was affected by that. We helped with the cleanup, and we also assisted, protecting all the fisheries. Also, all the commercial fishermen being stationed down here in the Gulf region. We have a lot of shrimpers out there. We have a lot of commercial fishermen out there. One of our missions is to make sure that they're doing everything legal. We make sure that they're in compliance with all applicable federal laws and regulations, with the boat of their size, make sure they have all the safety requirements on board. Also, we make sure that they have the appropriate licenses. We don't want them overcatching. We want to make sure they're catching the appropriate species and so on. So we do all those inspections. Marine safety. We do recreational boating checks, make sure that commercial and recreational boats, recreational boating is just anybody that just owns their own personal watercraft. Whenever they go out on the water, every boat has to have some sort of safety equipment on board. If just like whether it's fire extinguishers, life jackets, we just want to make sure everybody is safe being out there on the water. The commercial cruise liners, we inspect them. We make sure that they are in compliance because since they take passengers on board, we want to make sure that they're safe, because whenever they get underway, if an emergency happens, they have to be able to know how to handle situations where if they have some sort of emergency event on board, if they have a fire that takes place, they need to know how to be able to handle that situation until help can arrive. They have to have all the safety equipment on board, life jackets, life rafts, and all those have to be inspected by the Coast Guard. We also, since we are one of the 6 military branches, we always have to maintain that defense readiness. We do migrant interdiction, marine environmental protection, and ice operations. I didn't really know too much about the ice operations until I got stationed up in the Great Lakes. But we also, not only do we do ice breaking up there, but we have cutters that go all the way down to Antarctica. Those are stationed out in Seattle, Washington. And every day we are enforcing laws and regulations on the waters, just making sure everybody's doing the right thing. All right, so active duty benefits. So Coast Guard, it's the exact same across the board throughout all the branches of the military. Active duty, you get paid the 1st and the 15th of every month. I'm an E6 in the Coast Guard with 14 years of service. I get paid the exact same as somebody in the Army, Marines, Navy that has 14 years of service that's an E6. So that's standard across. What you also get is basic allowance for housing, and that's going to depend on the area that you live. Like the cost of living out in California is a lot more expensive, so you're going to be getting more money to live out there. Every area I've lived in Michigan, I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Pennsylvania, and now Mississippi. Everywhere I've lived, the cost of living has been different. You also get a food allowance. That's what the basic allowance for subsistence. You'll get a food allowance, and that's going to depend on the type of unit you go to. If you're at a land unit, you're going to be receiving that money. But if you go to a cutter is what we call our boats that are 65 feet or greater that you're assigned to. And if you're assigned to a cutter, then your money will go to the boat. Because as a culinary specialist, whenever I was assigned to a boat, my job was to maintain the operations of the galley, and that's how we would procure food. Now, whenever you go on vacation and stuff, then you would be getting your money. You also get full medical and dental. I tell you what, that's an awesome benefit. I'm married. I have 2 children. I have never had to pay one hospital bill. TRICARE is a great healthcare benefit. You also get a group life insurance. With that covers approximately about $24 a month is taken out of my pay each month, and you get up to $400,000 in life insurance. And who likes to go on vacation and get paid while they do that? Well, you get 30 days of paid vacation per year. So if you have the appropriate amount of vacation days on the books, you want to take 2 weeks of leave, you can get paid while doing that. Wow. And what's unique about the Coast Guard is you don't have to decide what you want to do before you get in. As long as you have a qualifying ASVAB score, the current qualifying ASVAB score is a 36. And you can choose to go to a certain age school. We have critical jobs in the Coast Guard where you can go to a specific training right away. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to go into the fleet and see what jobs there are and see what they do, you can do that. The free travel. If we have access to military space availability flights. So if you're located in an area that has a military base that has military aircrafts, if they're going to a specific destination, I had a friend that was located in California, and they took there's a military air station nearby. They had space available on it. They took a trip out to Hawaii for free. Wow. Now you're kind of on their time. If they don't have space available, then you're not going to be able to go. But if they have the availability, then you can put your name on the books and try to get on that flight. Also, wherever you get assigned, the Coast Guard's going to ensure that you get there. They're not going to just tell you to, hey, all right, you're assigned to Coast Guard Station Sault Ste. Marie. All right, report at this time. Make sure you have all your stuff there. No, you have a couple options. They're going to give you the specific training. You can have a government move where they come in. They'll have contractors come in. They'll load everything in your house. They'll pack it professionally. And since they're moving it, they're taking ownership of it until they get it to the destination. So they will make sure everything's packed up for you and transport it. Or you can move yourself, and they will pay you to move yourself. And so there's a couple options. I've done it both ways. I've also you can do split moves. I had the government move about 80% of my stuff, and I moved the remaining 20%. One of the huge benefits that I wish I would have taken advantage of was the GI Bill. Now I still have access to this. I still have it, but I'll cover that here in a second. But what the GI Bill does, you get 36 months of education. So that covers 4 years of college education if you want to go to a college or university, or if you want to go to a vocational trade school. As long as you commit 3 years of active duty service, you're entitled to that benefit.
Wow.
and that covers 100% of your tuition and fees. You're also going to be receiving a housing allowance for that, so that they're going to help you out with the cost of living, and they'll give you up to $1,000 to help out with books and supplies. I know I graduated college in 2006, and I remember my college books. They're about $150 to $200 a piece. So that got pretty expensive. But what else the Coast Guard has is they have what's called tuition assistance. What tuition assistance is, it's money that that you're allowed to apply for within the Coast Guard. It's right now the current rate is $3,760. You're allowed to use that per year, as long as and to try to receive your higher education. I had a friend, he utilized that money every year for his 6 years of enlistment. And by the time he was done, he had acquired his bachelor's degree. Wow. And he hadn't even touched his GI Bill. By the time he got out of the Coast Guard, he had his bachelor's. Then he started using his GI Bill, and he utilized that to get his master's. Wow. And so this is kind of the breakdown with the post 9/11 GI Bill. As long as you have 36 months of continued service. So the way our contracts work, whenever you sign up for any branch of the military, you're committing a military service obligation of 8 years. Now, depending on what you want to do, if you want to do 4 years of active duty, that's typically what you would do on active duty. You would do 4 years active duty, and then you would go 4 years of inactive reserves or selected reserves. Selective reserves is where you're working 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year. Inactive reserves is you're not getting paid, but you're kind of in a standby mode. If ever an event, if we ever in a war situation where they need to call up the inactive reserves, they would utilize the inactive reserves before initiating the draft. That's why we have the inactive reserves. But so as long as we do have 2-year active duty contracts, so you wouldn't get the full post 9/11. You would get the 24 months, which would cover 80% of it. But for those that decide to go on the reserve side, you're also eligible for this post 9/11 GI Bill if you because there's situations that come up where you can go on temporary assignment to go on active duty for a period of time. But in the reserves, if you go on at least 90 days of active duty, not at one time, but if you take 30 days here and there, as long as you acquire at least 90 days of active duty time, you can get 50% of that post 9/11 GI Bill. So if you're going to college, if it costs $20,000, they're going to cover 10,000 of it.
Wow.
All right. So here's some of the reserve benefits. A little bit different from the active duty, but this is geared towards if you're a student or if you have a full-time job already. This is just kind of a supplemental income, but there's a lot of benefits within the reserves. You get paid once a month, and you get a discounted medical and dental coverage, approximately for the both of them about $55 a month. That's pretty price efficient. But while you're in a drilling status, so what a drilling status is while you're currently so your 1 weekend that you would work a month, so that'd be Saturday, Sunday, you do 2 drills per day. One drill is 4 hours. So whenever you complete your while you're in a drilling status, you're covered 100% medical and dental. So if something were to happen, you're covered. But while you're not in a drilling status, you have that low cost medical and dental coverage. And you also have that group life insurance benefit. Now that Montgomery GI for selected reserves is a little different than the post 9/11. Whenever you sign up for reserves, you're signing up for a 6-year military service, or your 6 years of selected reserves, and then there'd be 2 years of inactive reserves still to complete that 8 years of military service obligation. There's 2 phases with that. You have to complete both phases to get that benefit. Phase 1 is to complete boot camp, and boot camp is in Cape May, New Jersey, which is 8 weeks long. And then phase 2 is completing the job that you decide to do. For instance, I'm a culinary specialist, so I had to go to Petaluma, California, and complete 13 weeks of training. So for somebody in the reserves, they would have to complete boot camp and their choice of school. Once they complete both of those, then they're eligible to start receiving the educational benefits. Right now, the current rate is $407 per month for up to 36 months. So roughly that's about $14,652. So that's a pretty good benefit. All right, so these are all the enlisted opportunities within the Coast Guard. The age requirement is for active duty is 17 to 34, and these are all of the job opportunities that are within the enlisted ratings. Everything that has an asterisk on that is everything that's you can be a reservist in as well. The only ones that are not available for reserve are the aviation rates, because the amount of training and the qualifications that they have to maintain, that's why it's not available for the reserves. But if you have a desire to be a welder or some sort of, we have rates for that. When I say rates, that's what we call our job descriptions within the Coast Guard. Like like for somebody that wanted to do welding, we have a damage control rate. Their primary duty is to handle all the firefighting equipment on board all of our cutters, to inspect them, make sure they're operational. Because the importance of that is because whenever you're assigned to a cutter, whenever the boat leaves the pier, we're going to be the first responders. And if we have an emergency on board, we're going to, we have to handle that situation. So we get to have lots of training. Whatever job you decide to do, that's only a portion of what you get to do.
Yeah, just looking at the jobs here, it looks like at least half of these are very technology based. So there's a lot of technology skills that are needed to be a part of the Coast Guard.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't have to have the experience, as long as you have the qualifying ASVAB score for each one of these jobs. You don't have to have any prior experience. They're going to train you from the bottom up, and there's advanced training to go along with each jobs. Like with our machinery technician, I used to be a machinery technician. You get the basics in engineering components and how to diagnose things, because our primary job on boats and small boat station is maintain all the engine components. But they have advanced trainings that you can do. They can send you to ACNR school to train you to work on, because we have AC systems on our boats that are constantly needing to be worked on. And all those certifications you can take with you whenever you're done with your military service. So there's lots of job opportunities, whatever you desire. If you want to, our operational specialists, they're kind of like the 911 dispatchers of the Coast Guard. They're going to be in our command centers. They're going to be the ones that are taking the calls in for people that are in distress, and they're going to be relaying that information to the outlying units, the units that are in the area, to get somebody out there to respond. All right, so location. So I'd say about 90% of our units are located within the U.S., and that's including Guam, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. We do have a few units overseas, but those are jobs that you're not going to be volunteered for. You're going to be, you'd have to screen for those and apply for it. But any body of water that covers 2 or more states, that makes it federal. So that's where the Coast Guard is going to be. So, and we have units from Maine all the way to Alaska and the coastline in between. We have units up and down the Mississippi River too. We have 3 cutters in Mississippi alone, because the Mississippi River, has lots of boat traffic, a lot of commercial vessels going up and down delivering goods, and we have lots of aids to navigation that has to be maintained. So Coast Guard has a pretty vital role with that. All right, so boot camp. Our boot camp is 8 weeks long, and it's in Cape May, New Jersey. Uh, these are just that's just the breakdown of each week. Week 5 is when you would receive your orders, and then 6, 7, 8, you're still continuing your training, but you're making those preparations for your first unit. And the purpose of boot camp is to make that transition from civilian life to military life. And I can, if you like, sir, I can send you a boot camp video. It's 20 minutes long. I can send it to you if you want to show it at a later time.
Sure, just so we get a chance. I've always been interested about that anyway.
All right, these are the physical fitness requirements for the Coast Guard for male and female. These are the graduation standards. And the reason why we have a swim test, it's not very hard, but we do have to administer it. The reason why you have to jump off of a 6-foot platform, and this is in a controlled environment. You're in a Olympic-sized swimming pool. You have lifeguards on standby, so they have you jump off of a 6-foot platform and swim 100 meters unassisted, and then you have to tread water for 5 minutes. The reason why they have you do that, because we are a seagoing service, and in the event of an emergency, if we have to abandon the ship because we're flooding, we need to know, you have to know how to survive. The 6-foot platform is simulating jumping off of the boat. The reason why you have to swim the 100 meters is because if a boat is sinking, you're not going to want to be right next to it, because it's going to create a lot of suction when it's sinking. So that's why they have you swim 100 meters, and that's simulating swimming away from the boat. And the 5 minutes of treading water is because it's going to be at least 5 minutes that the life rafts are getting deployed. And but in a real life scenario, you're going to have your life jacket on. We have Gumby suits that you're going to be putting on. What a Gumby suit is, it's a survival suit that you would put on, and it's going to help protect you from the elements, and it's going to help you float and also help prevent hypothermia. So. All right, these are the different platforms that the Coast Guard has. That top one is all of our aviation platforms. We have various cutters, and we also have small boat stations. Every cutter that we have has a small boat attached to it that we could deploy if we're doing search and rescue, law enforcement. And then we also have small boat stations where their primary mission is search and rescue, law enforcement. And you'll find a lot of those 45 ones, those ones off to the right, those smaller boats. You'll find a lot of those at our small boat stations. And we do have one sailboat in the Coast Guard. We call it the Training Bark Eagle. They use that to train all of our cadets, our officer cadets that are at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Before I get to theirs, I do have a couple myself. And obviously everybody's path is different. And the main reason we do this, we want our kids to be informed about all the options they have. So, and you talked about the training and the specific jobs that the Coast Guard has. How would that measure up? Let's say, and let's just use the computer one as an example, the information technology person. How much useful or how useful would that be going? Let's say you did 4 years in the Coast Guard and you wanted to get a job in IT. How much would an employer look at that, or how would they look at that as compared to a 4-year degree from a college in information technology?
That's a great question, because we have programs. We have what's called the COOL program, and all of the training that you receive is documented, and it can transfer over to basically a credits on a transcript. So you get basically a military transcript, and that would fall over to that. So you can take all those certifications, all those trainings that you receive, and apply it to the civilian side whenever your time is up, whenever you decide that you don't want to be in the service anymore. When I first got in, I was only planning on doing 4 years and getting out. But I had such a strong passion for the Coast Guard, and I just wanted to keep going.
That's awesome. And you also mentioned too, and you showed on the map, You said with very little exceptions, pretty much if you're in the Coast Guard, you're not going to leave the country, unless unless like you said you asked for it. So
Yeah.
how much more of that is as a benefit is people I know in other branches, even if they never see combat, they usually leave the country for an extended amount of time. So how much of that is a benefit of being in the Coast Guard as compared to the other branches?
I think that's a pretty huge benefit. Now, you might be stationed within the United States, but if you get stationed on one of our big cutters, our national security cutters, they deploy whenever they go out on deployments. They're gone for 2 to 3 months at a time, but when they come back in, they're going to be in for 2 to 3 months. But they get to go to you're going to be assigned to that cutter. They get to travel all over the world, and they get to go see some pretty awesome places. And they get to take some pretty awesome port calls and get to go see places that you never thought you'd get to see. But when your deployment's over, you come back. But yeah, usually you're only patrolling for 2 to 3 months at a time.
Okay, I did not know that. That's great information. And before I get to theirs, I do have one more. When you look at the type of people that you're looking for to join, because obviously there is the physical aspect. People that have played sports like the team aspect, the athletic people like it. But what type of people are you looking to join the Coast Guard to join you guys' ranks?
We want somebody that's highly motivated, that have a can-do attitude, and just, I'm a pretty self-starter, and I love what I do, but I had no military background. I wasn't in ROTC. I did play sports, but you don't have to have that. As if you have a desire and if you want to travel, that's some of the reasons why people want to join. They want that sense of traveling. They want to join because they want that educational benefit, and that's perfectly fine. But as long as you just show that willingness to be able to do the mission.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I do have some questions, and these are all seniors, and some of these may seem simple, but I think just a lot of people watching now, watching later, may not know. This is from Christian Sanders, and he asked, "How is the Coast Guard different from the Navy?"
We actually we have different laws that we follow. Since we are a federal entity, we fall under Department of Homeland Security. They fall under Department of Defense. Okay. So what's unique about us is that we actually have laws and regulations that we can enforce that the Navy can't. Because if the Navy's out patrolling the water, they can't just go out and pull a boat over, because that could be taken as an act of war. But what the Coast Guard can do, if the Navy's out patrolling, if they're seeing illegal activity going on, like drug smuggling in, they can only interdict them if there's a Coast Guard personnel on their boat. If a Coast Guard personnel is on their boat, they have to fly their Coast Guard ensign, or they have to fly the Coast Guard flag, and then that makes them a Coast Guard boat at that time.
Okay.
Because all the laws and the regulations that the Coast Guard is entrusted to enforce, that's what goes along with all the missions that we have.
Okay.
Now, for instance, in the time of war, if we're called upon, we're going to be called to be part of we're going to be working under the Navy in that aspect. So it goes both ways.
Okay. Yeah. And that's cool. You guys are like a security force, but if you had to be, you could be a combat force as well, even though that's not your primary function.
Correct.
Okay. This is Michael Williams, and he said, could someone join the Coast Guard if they were afraid of oceans?
Yeah, you do need to know how to swim. But I've come across people that their comfort level with the water wasn't there, but they did know how to swim though. But we are, that's just something that you're going to have to overcome if that's something that you want to do, because we are a seagoing service. We have land units. I've been in the Coast Guard a little over 14 years now, and this pin that I'm wearing right here, we call that a Cutterman pin. You have to have at least 5 years of sea service to acquire that. And about half my career has been on land, and the other half has been at sea. Now, I wasn't at sea for 7 years straight. I was on the 140 ice breaking tug and the Coast Guard cutter William Tate. So I was, we would be out for a month or two at a time and then come back in. So I wasn't at sea for 7 years. But
okay. And this is a Layla Middleton, and she asked, how much of a need is there for nurses in the Coast Guard?
Well, we do have one of our jobs that we have within the Coast Guard. We have health service technicians. So there's always a need. They're health service technicians. Those are going to be our Coast Guard corpsmen. They get trained. Once they graduate A school, they go straight to emergency medical technician school. So they are going to be EMT certified.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, because obviously people can always get injured and sick and stuff out at sea. So that's obviously a big need. This is DJ Williams, and he asked.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, to follow up with that, you don't have to go to HSA school to get that certification as well. Every single small boat station is going to have somebody that has that certification. And also we get first responder qualifications. We get that CPR certifications, because when we go on those search and rescue missions, we're going to be those first responders that rendering first aid and those life support systems until we can get them to paramedics. So we get those trainings as well.
Oh, awesome. This is DJ Williams, and he asked, what is the biggest sacrifice you make when you join the Coast Guard?
The biggest sacrifice for myself is the time away from the family. Not my wife and my children, but just being away from my family in Texas. And also my kids, they've only known the Coast Guard. They're used to moving every 4 years. But on the flip side of that, they have friends all over the country. But it is that initial transfer. Once we move to a different location, there is there's a little period of time where it's a little tough, going to a new school, making new friends. And that's something that my wife and I, we've had to discuss, and we've had to make those decisions. But they're rock stars, and family is very important to me. And I would not be where I'm at today if I didn't have the support from my family. So
awesome. And then one more from the students. This is Fred Page, and he asked, how do you get used to seeing traumatizing things on the boat?
Well, it just comes with your training. You always have to. We train all the time. And we train so much, whenever that real life scenario happens, you know how to respond. That's and when we do train, we treat it like a real life scenario. So whenever it comes time for that real life scenario, we know how to respond.
Awesome. Now, before we go, you want to let us know where your office is located and your contact information?
Yes, actually, that's on my next slide.
You guys are right. You're right there by North Park Mall on County Line Road.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
That's all I had. If we have any more, I'll make sure to pass that along to you. We thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for the service to our country and everything you do here in Jackson and the recruiting station, and some great information. A lot of that was new to me. And I think you guys play a very important role in the security of our country and a lot of other areas. And we can't thank you enough. And have a great Veterans Day that's coming up.
Thank you. And if any of your students, if anybody is interested about the Coast Guard, my cell phone number that's listed right there. If you want some more information, just shoot me a text. just let me know who it is, but I will respond and I can provide that information.
That's awesome.
And as soon as I'll send you that email with the boot camp video if y'all would like to see it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know you're really busy, man. We appreciate you fitting this in the schedule today. You guys got some great stuff going on. It's great information. Thank you so much again for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too.